How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Family. We are back with another preseason FPL video, and today we're looking at the last of the promotion teams. We're going to be looking at Nottingham Forest, and we're going to see what FPL assets, both attacking and defensively, could be useful for our FPL teams, and how they are strengthening in the transfer market to help make sure that they stay up this coming FPL season. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe channel if you are new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Also, drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, and give us a follow over on Twitch so you can join us live for our preview, deadline, and any impromptu FPL streams that'll be exclusively over on Twitch this season. Now, without further ado, let's look at Nottingham Forest's attacking options this season. Now, Nottingham Forest are a very interesting team, doing a lot of things in the transfer market, and had a few players that have come in and a few players that have left. So we'll have to see kind of how they adjust coming back into the Premier League after being out for so long. Bournemouth and Fulham are a bit of an exception, obviously, to this rule because they've been in the Premier League within the last 2 seasons. Whereas Nottingham Forest have been out for such a long time, it's going to be very interesting to see how they adapt to the life in the Premier League. But they do have some attacking options which could provide some value for us. Maybe not at the start of the season, because if you look at the very top here, you can see their fixtures. Newcastle away is just going to be tough for anyone this season. West Ham are always going to be a difficult outfit. Everton away could be a place where they can pick up some points. And then Spurs are going to be difficult under Antonio Conte just in general. So maybe it's a wait and see on their assets total. But if we look at some of their stats from the championship last season, so I have the team stats from their championship run as of last season. 71 goals, 38 goals conceded. So basically scoring 2-1 almost in that sort of, for every goal that they've scored, or conceded rather, they scored 2 goals. And they had 18 clean sheets across the 46 total games, which isn't a crazy amount. They weren't the highest in terms of clean sheets. I think they were like 7th or 8th out of the championship last season. So it's probably going to be an attack potentially where we can get some value. And if we look at some of the players over my shoulder here, you have Jesse Lingard, newly signed, was a free agent after leaving Manchester United in the summer. Didn't get much game time, as you can see, only 2 starts. Not really much going on for him there. So he's going to look to help improve their system. And when we get to kind of how they set up defensively, it'll show as a reason why he could potentially provide some value. Brennan Johnson, their main kind of player, the number 9, the all action, definitely one to watch out for. He's actually not 6.5 million, he's actually 6 million. That graphic is wrong. So same price as Lingard, which actually gives you a choice as well, which is quite interesting. Sam Surridge is another one, 5 million. He could see some game time, but based on last season, I would think that he's going to be more of a bit part player. And we'll talk about who's going to potentially take up that second striker slot for them up front, because they do play with 2 up front. Very akin to kind of what Brentford did for parts of last season as well. And it seems that they've kind of adopted this sort of 3-4-1-2 play style. We'll talk about how when they set up defensively in the next section. But I think Brennan Johnson and Lingard will be the 2 I think you'll have to look out for. Lingard is going to play right in behind the 2 forwards. Brennan Johnson is going to be one of those 2 forwards as well. I would say look out for them and just keep an eye on them, because if these guys do drop in price, let's say, you know, some Forest fans or whoever start with them and they start to sell them and they slightly go down in price, we could see a 5.8 Jesse Lingard, a 5.8 Brennan Johnson before the time we actually want to bring them in, which could be very, very valuable for us. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. And I think Forest are definitely going to go, they're going to go at teams. They're not going to sit back. They're not going to be defensive. They're definitely going to go at teams, at least for the first part of the season. So we'll have to kind of see how that one unfolds. I'm very excited. I love seeing teams that haven't been in the Premier League for a very long time. Forest is one of those teams that has so much history as well, and could be a very interesting prospect in the Premier League. So I'm definitely rooting for them as well. Now, let's talk about the structure and how defensively Nottingham Forest are going to set up, and what FPL assets could they offer for this coming FPL season. Now, the way Nottingham Forest are going to set up is mainly in a 3-4-1-2. And typically that 1 is probably going to be a number 10. The 2 forwards is going to be Brennan Johnson +1. And we'll talk about who that 1 is most likely going to be come the start of the season. But the 3 at the back and the wing backs is how they're going to basically implement their strategy, being compact in defense, and able to spring and create chances on the counterattack. And I think they've brought in some players that definitely will bring excitement to the team. McKenna being one of the long-standing members in the team. Not probably going to be an FPL asset, but just someone who's going to be reliable. He had 45 starts, the most out of any Forest player last season, and he comes in at 4.5 million. He's going to play in that back three. However, they did get rid of Jed Spence, who's gone over to Spurs now. And they've replaced him with Nico Williams, someone who is very young, very exciting, and could be very good in that wing-back role. And for 4 million could be absolutely fantastic. A 4 million right wing-back playing for a team that likes to actually attack is something I can get on board with. There's a lot of very good value defenders this season, and he could potentially be one of them. Maybe a bench option for the start, but if Forest, show that they're able to compete with the big boys, then he could be in our FPL team starting game in, game out, and he could be like the next John Lundstrom or something like that. They've also picked up Dean Henderson on loan as well, which also hinders them a little bit because they cannot get Jimmy Gardner, who is also playing in the midfield for them, who was also from Manchester United, who was on loan from them last season, who played in that double pivot in the 4 in midfield in front of the back 3. So that might be a slight loss for them. But with Dean Henderson in goal, because they got rid of their goalkeeper, we'll talk about that when we get to the transfer section a little bit more. Dean Henderson has proven that on teams that are newly promoted, he can definitely provide a lot of saves, rack up some good bonus points, and could provide good value. And he just wasn't playing at Manchester United, just literally did not. I mean, you can see on the graphic, 0 starts. He just was not involved. And I think that that could help elevate Forest even more so, because he's just is going to fit right in, and maybe of just a slightly higher quality than Samba, who was their previous goalkeeper. Henderson likes to play the ball out from the back, is very good at coming to claim crosses, is very active at sweeper keeping, and could be quite valuable to Forest this season. And we'll have to see kind of how, if they want to implement more of a fast, vertical style of attack when they do get the ball, akin to what Liverpool play or similar to what Brentford play. Brentford have the big man, small man kind of going up front with Tony and Mbeumo, and maybe that's what Forest might look to replicate, because they saw how successful it was last season for Brentford with their current setup in their team. So I think Nico Williams is probably the best of the bunch. 4 million defender. You can't ask for much more. He's probably going to be playing right wing back if they stick to the same system. And I think Steve Cooper, although he has tried a lot of different formations, the 3-4-1-2 is seemingly what he used the most in the latter half of the season. So, and with Jed Spence gone, like I said, Nico Williams is going to be playing at right wing back. So that could be very interesting. Now let's see how Forest have done in the transfer market. Now, Forest have been extremely active in the transfer market, and probably their biggest, potentially most important signing is Awoniyi, I think is how you pronounce it. Awoniyi? I'm going to butcher that name, and I apologize if it's incorrect, but he's going to be the guy that's going to be playing alongside Brennan Johnson in the front two. He's coming at the same price at 6 million. Not sure if he's going to be the penalty taker, but for 17.2 million pounds, he's going to be potentially the new guy that plays alongside him. They had Keenan Davis playing there last season, who was a loanee from Aston Villa. Like I said, in the attacking section, they still have Sam Surridge, who's probably going to play a bit part backup role. But he could be our cheap 6 million forward from one of the promotional teams that could provide us some value alongside maybe Solanke, Brennan Johnson, as well as Mitrovic, obviously, who did so well in the championship last season. But his goal record is pretty good. I mean, he is coming from Union Berlin in the Bundesliga, so it's a little bit of a pinch of salt with that one. But I still think he could be quite promising. He's very physically imposing, very good when it comes to just aerial duels and physical battles, and could be like kind of the Ivan Toney, as it were, from basically Nottingham Forest's perspective, as it were. He could be that guy, and then Brennan Johnson will play more the Mbeumo running off the shoulder type of forward, and that pair could allow for a bit more dynamism up front. Keenan Davis was able to do that role, but I think that, he is maybe slightly less in stature, as it were, so maybe they were looking for someone a bit more physically imposing, and I think this guy could potentially bring that in bundles. So I think he'll fit in quite well. Again, with the Bundesliga, it's always take it with a pinch of salt, because it seems like Bundesliga players take a little while to transition into the Premier League. Nico Williams, we mentioned, 4 million coming over from Liverpool on a permanent deal, so that was very interesting and very kindly priced at 4 million as well. Jesse Lingard, who was originally at Man United, came over on a free, so I think that's a fantastic pickup for them. It's a 1-year deal for him as well, so we can kind of wait and see how things go this season. And if, Forest don't stay up in the Premier League, then obviously he's going to want to stay at a Premier League club. So he can help them out. If they do really well, then maybe he signs a longer term deal and then stays there for the remainder of his career, basically. Because Jesse Lingard's now, I think he's gone 30 now, or he's going 30. And will basically be his last kind of big contract. So maybe he's just kind of doing the 1-year wait and see thing. Maybe he'll end up at West Ham. We'll see. But for this season, could be a very good FPL asset for Nottingham Forest. And in terms of the outs as well, so Jed Spence, as we mentioned, he was on loan from Middlesbrough last season. Now has been, I believe, sold on a permanent deal to Spurs, so he's going to be a big miss. Samba, who was their goalkeeper, 4.2 million, again, which is an approximation, has gone over to Lens, and they've brought in Dean Henderson as a loanee replacement for the time being. And then they've just kind of gotten rid of a bunch of different players that are kind of fringe players like Figueiredo, and now these guys are going to be kind of playing second fiddle to the mainstays in the defensive unit, as it were, for Nottingham Forest. But they've done a lot of business. They're still looking to bring in more players as well. I think they're still looking for potentially someone who can replace Jimmy Garner, which is going to be very important for defensive stability. Someone who could drive with the ball. Someone who's actually pretty good on set pieces too, because Jimmy Garner did take a lot of their set pieces, so they need to kind of replace that. Whether Lingard takes them, I don't know. Lingard hasn't really taken that many set pieces when he was with like England or United, from my recollection. So maybe they're looking for someone like that who's going to be defensively solid and able to drive with the ball, potentially a set piece taker or a deep line creator in that role. And then I think maybe some cover, just as have like some utility defenders to basically replace the likes of Figueiredo and I think it's Ianu, I think is how you pronounce it as well. So I'm very bad at pronouncing names, by the way, as you can tell. But I think Forest are looking very, very good. They know what they need to do. They're doing a bunch of different transfers and trying to get in a fully fleshed out squad because they know the demands of the Premier League, and I think they're getting it right so far. I think they've got in their main core player that they wanted up front. They brought in Lingard, who's going to be much more dynamic than Zinkernagel, who was kind of the number 10 that wasn't really as creative. We know Lingard can score fantastic goals and can create when given the space to do so. And I think a team like Forest, where they're probably not going to have as much of the ball, benefits him a lot because he's going to be able to spin in behind into space and get the kind of opportunities to create chances and score goals. So I think Forest is doing a fantastic job. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And that's going to do it for the transfer watch section of Nottingham Forest. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Scout members area, the one place that you need to be tuned into for the upcoming FPL season. It has a wide variety of resources and tools that will help improve your FPL game today. It has a bunch of different members-only articles written by some of the best FPL managers across the globe, heat maps for all the players and positions, as well as player comparison tools, which will help you see side by side who is going to be more effective for your FPL team, fully customizable stats tables powered by Opta stats, and much, much more. Use the link down in the description below so that you can get access to the Fantasy Football Scout members area today. It'll help improve your FPL game. This video has been sponsored by Manscaped, the best in male below-the-waist grooming. Make sure to check out manscaped.com so you can see the latest and greatest updates to their lawnmower, as well as their performance package, and much, much more for all their gadgets and gizmos to help keep your family jewels looking as shiny as ever. Make sure to use the code FLAME20 so that you can get 20% off your next Manscaped order, as well as free worldwide shipping. Go check out manscaped.com today. And that is going to do it for this preseason Team Watch edition for Nottingham Forest. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe channel if you're new, and turn those notification bells on so you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Also, drop us a follow over on Twitter so that you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news. And give us a follow over on Twitch so you can join us for any preview, deadline, or any impromptu FPL streams exclusively over on Twitch for this coming FPL season. Those will be starting back up next week with the preview stream on Monday before the Friday deadline stream. And lastly, make sure to check out the link down in the description below for Fantasy Football Scout. All the stats that you saw on today's video were exclusively from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. It's going to help elevate your FPL game. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.